right, any other questions? If not, Rafael, you'd be next.
Okay, just sharing my screen. One moment. Can you guys see my screen? Let me try to present. Oh no, why is this not presenting? Okay. Let me see if this one works. Okay. Okay, great. Final. All right. So hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here and for taking your time to listen to this proposal. And as you can see here on the title, we are trying to create an AI agent for inheritance tax advice. This is a proposal that is on the ideation round, on the ideation category. And here I think it's important to always start with the problem. And the problem is, when someone dies and you have an inheritance to collect, which is probably the last thing you're thinking about when that happens. It's a tough process in terms of bureaucracy. You have a lot to take care of, at least in some countries. In my country, you have a lot to take care of sometimes if they don't have things well sorted out. And at the end of the day, you need to pay your taxes, your inheritance taxes, which is also an issue. You come and you see that you have a bunch of rules. You have the legal jargon that is hard to understand for many people. This is like a very specific situation. So at the same time, are you really willing to spend that much time learning about it if you don't have to face it constantly? And of course, to find good advice and good experts, sometimes it can be hard and it's also expensive, what makes a lot of people not being able to afford it. So at the end of the day, I've met a lot of people that just do it on their own, and whatever happens, happens. And many of the times there are no optimizations and things could be done better at the end of the day. So for that, we are trying to create this AI agent that would provide tailored inheritance tax advice for your legislation and considering as well your specific situation, what you stand to actually receive in your inheritance. This is an ideation proposal to mitigate the risks and understand what we really need to do at the end of the day. And for that, we'll start with some research planning, assessing the whole feasibility of the project and what are the features we really need to have. Will be working with GenWealth, the first inheritance protocol on Cardano that will actually pilot these, have these on the website for people to use. But besides that, we have also other interesting platforms to explore, like for example, Will Easy, that is a platform for online wills that would be interested in using this as well in the future. And yeah, everything we do here is going to be open source and available. And in the future, if this proposal turns from ideation to an actual proposal, it will be available on the Singularity marketplace for everyone to use. This is basically an overview of our milestones. And we start a little bit with the legislation research. We will study and choose the best legislations according to a set of criteria. From that point onwards, we'll analyze those legislations, create some examples of optimizations we can follow, and also understand the legal requirements of offering such a product, which has legal and tax implications and can be sensitive. Besides that, we'll do an effort to understand the functionalities required by our consumers, by the people who will be using us, from B2B customers, such as, for example, these will platforms that could be using us, or B2C if we create a platform, a front end for people to take initiative and go there and use it on their own if they need some help and advice. And afterwards, of course, we have the third milestone to plan everything related to the development of these AI agents, assessing the feasibility, defining the tech stack that would fit best the model we're trying to build, the key technical functionalities. And I have something I wanted to take this out of the way. Yeah, and create like the complete development plan. And then the final milestone is to create that report open source for everyone to be able to leverage these and build these if anyone wants. And of course, draft a proposal to actually build this if it's possible, right? Then there's the team. You have myself. Yeah, this is some of the things here. I'm working with GenWealth, one of the team members. And besides that, I've worked with Will Easy as well, funding that project, building it through the startup I work with. And I'll be taking care of the legislation part, the customer feature requirements and proposal development. We have Ariadi, who's the CTO. He will help with the requirements for Will Easy, for GenWealth. It will also provide technical requirements for integration. And then we have our AI expert that will be doing a lot of the research and helping us develop this model. At the end of the day, this is our proposal. So if you find it interesting and valuable, please vote for it. And thank you so much for listening. I don't know if there was any questions. Please feel free.
Ken?
Yeah, it's faster than finding the hands up button on the screen. So
Yeah.
the jurisdictions, of course, will be very complicated. Which jurisdictions will you begin with? And will you be bringing this to North America as well?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And I think Jan already asked us a question very similar to this in the deep funding platform. And basically, we'll be first we want to start with around 10 to 15 legislations, depending on the complexity. So we'll analyze them and decide that. We will choose according to different criteria, such as the potential for the users to be interested in this service, and also things like, for example, the optimizations that could actually be done if there's a legislation where there's no point in actually providing a service like this, there's no point in doing any of that. Those will be kind of the criteria, and would like to provide in the US for sure, because it's an interesting market, a big market, and you have also a lot of disparities. You have people that are very rich, but other people that are not, which is also interesting to have that diversity, let's say. But we will need to analyze the legislation. Sometimes I've heard it's a bit complex, depending on the state, and a little bureaucratic. So that will be part of the first milestone of the proposal.
Thank you.
I also have a question. So
Okay.
at which point in the whole inheritance case would you be able to start using this? Because I've been, well, in a situation where I inherited something, and to even just figure out that final amount took 2 years, and I've gotten advice from different lawyers, and everyone told me something else. So I assume in order to use your solution, it would basically all have to be figured out and settled, and then you can give advice on the tax part of it, or at what point?
Yeah, ideally, it's at the point that you know what you stand to receive, which is easier if the person has a will and everything is organized, and can be more complicated if they don't. But technically, is that at that point, for example, taking an example, for example, with crypto inheritance protocols or something like that, that it's actually fairly fast because everything is already set and you know what you stand to gain. With real life situations, if there is a will, usually, and if the will is valid, usually it's relatively easy to know what you stand to gain. It's just a matter of then locating the assets. That can be a problem sometimes. If you don't have a will, then yeah, you'll need to figure it out before to see the possible tax optimizations. It's all based on the values you stand to gain. Yes.
So you would double check, like, would the system or would anyone double check that that is the case, like it's all settled, or would you just?
What do you mean with double check? Double check the advice of the AI model,
Well, would
or
you make sure that the client that's trying to use that actually knows what the inheritance is? Because that can be very confusing and not figured out for years.
for sure? Our
Do you always
idea,
make sure and double check that they
yeah,
know the exact amount?
We don't have a solution for that. This is like a tool. You have an amount, you put your amount, and you can get some advice and some calculations to improve just on tax, not on the rest of the bureaucratic process. That will be something more complex to develop. What we are working on, or what we are doing, is working with companies that do help in taking care of that process. So, for example, just to give you an example, if we integrate with the platform, and there are competitors like Will Easy platform. What they do is you can create your online will, and then you can also ask the help for a professional executor and all those people that will guide you through the process of getting your inheritance. And they could have this tool available in the platform for the clients as a bonus or an extra help for them, because yeah, sometimes the solicitors, yeah, sometimes that's an extra part of the process to have some more optimized tax advice in some legislations. So you kind of cut that with this AI agent, but the rest of the process is taken by the companies that are, professionals in doing that